welcome to Meet the General Contractor, NWIBRT's virtual program where you can get to know our members and the special services that they provide. Today, our guest is Chicago Corrosion Group, and we are excited to have you here. Thank you for joining. For those of you who have not been part of a GoToWebinar platform before, you can enter questions in. We will have some time throughout the presentation. If you have them, you can enter them in the question portal that you see there and hit send. That'll send it over. We can elaborate on certain topics during the presentation, but we will try to take a few questions at the end if we have time. Northwest Indiana Business Roundtable is an independent, nonprofit council of local firms committed to the improvement of construction and maintenance projects here in Northwest Indiana. Our purpose is to promote safety, quality, and cost-effective solutions to challenges faced by owners and contractors and labor here in the region. If you'd like more information about joining NWIBRT, please visit our website at NWIBRT.org. With that, I will close it out and hand it over to the main attraction. We have Warren Brand and Dan Wise from Chicago Corrosion Group. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, can everybody see me okay? See the slide? Can we see the slide clearly?
Not yet. Go ahead and share. Yep, there we go.
Now we're good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, welcome. Stephanie said my name is Warren Brand. I'm the owner of Chicago Corrosion Group. We provide vendor-neutral, client-centric corrosion mitigation and materials consulting, and I'll explain what that is because I know it's quite a mouthful. We have a bunch of slides to go through and some videos. I think you'll enjoy them. As Stephanie mentioned, if anybody has any questions, please text them to Stephanie. I'm happy to interrupt and address your questions. We've been doing this for many, many, many decades. Upper left-hand corner of the Venn diagram is the Steel Structure Painting Council. I'm a protective coating specialist. NACE in the upper right-hand corner is the National Association of Corrosion Engineers. Those are the numbers of how many. I'm a CIP level 3. Those are certifications within those two organizations. Within the last 6 months, those two organizations have merged, and not that it matters for anything, but they recently merged. Most importantly, I've been doing this close to 40 years, and we have an extensive amount of experience, which we're going to go over shortly. I wanted to get this in here because this is a project that we stumbled upon last month. We were contacted by a client in Las Vegas, and this is artwork by a gentleman named Daniel Popper. And if you Google him, he's an international artist. He does work all over the world. This was in a local arboretum in the Chicago area, and he ran into difficulties because he hadn't used these exact materials before. That is a modified concrete on the left, and you can see the seams in the body, and it was painted badly. It was made in China with a modified concrete that had fiberglass in it, and it was shipped here and then pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle. There were a lot of problems when he got here and he didn't know what to do, so we were contacted by him, and we're material specialists, we're corrosion specialists, and we do a lot of things well beyond corrosion, which we're going to get into, but in this case, he was really stuck and not knowing what to do. So we identified a contractor and a methodology for removing all of that paint, which happened to be vapor blasting, which is a sophisticated, nuanced way of abrasive blasting. And we used what's called Potter's Ballatini, little glass beads, so they would just fall into the grass. A lot of complexity to what the surface preparation was. It was done in a day and a half, even in the rain. It was a home run, and then you can see on the right picture, we used a different highly specialized concrete to sort of fill in. You can see all those seams are gone, and he was going to paint it afterwards. In fact, that is going to be on the cover of a local magazine here. My feature is going to be on the cover of the magazine here this summer. You can't really have materials talk without throwing up a picture of the Coliseum. Understanding the materials, how to select them and protect them leads to good results. More importantly, talking about the Romans for a second, this is Roman concrete that has been immersed in salt water for over 2,000 years. And it's holding up better than any current blend of concrete currently made. And we really lean heavily on Albert Einstein's quote of everything should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. And you'll see when we get further into the presentation, there are times that doing nothing is a win. I just want to talk about this briefly. One of the big issues in our industry is issues of procurement. When, as an owner, if you have problems with corrosion or material selection, most of the vendors are going to be contacting you. They make money by selling you goods and services. CCG makes money by telling our clients the technical truth about things. So if you're looking to paint something enormous, like the Coliseum, everybody's going to be wanting to sell you paint, and contractors are going to be wanting to do work for you. And as you'll see in a minute, we ran across a case where the optimal solution was to do nothing. To talk a little bit about the ubiquitousness of corrosion issues, this video is sort of going to speak for itself. So that was are people still with me? Are we still on?
Yes.
Good. So that was a big mistake by Toyota about 6-7 years ago that cost a highly sophisticated company more than that now, $3.4 billion on a non-optimal solution for corrosion protection. This is a project, this is an iconic landmark in Chicago. It's called the Crown Fountain. And we started, and this is the cover of a magazine that I wrote the piece on this. This was just talking about the caulking issue associated with it. This is a cool video of we cordoned off the entire area. And part of the work, we started as the waterproofing expert on the project, and then we were elevated to the senior consultant over everybody. So we were consulting on and organizing issues with anemometers and pump systems and electronics and LED lighting and HVAC systems. So we started as a small component of it, and then we ended up heading up the project for over 2 years on 2 different phases. And this is just a neat view of the feature. And we had to cordon off the entire area in order to do a proper survey. This is an interior of it during construction. And you may be wondering, what does this have to do if I'm, if I'm at a huge facility, I'm at BP or ArcelorMittal, both of who we've worked for before. I'm going to get to that in a second. The fundamentals are all the same. The materials don't care if they live in a framework like this that's made out of stainless steel and carbon steel and glass products. They're all material selections, and the issues are the same in terms of how we protect them. In this case, we were originally contacted. They wanted a painting specification, but instead, because these towers are now completely encased in glass block, I came up with a strategy of dehumidifying the entire structure. And if we get the humidity level below, I think it's like 48%, it's impossible for anything to corrode. And as you can imagine, if you're a painting contractor or a paint supplier, that's not a solution that you would want to hear, because that doesn't put any money in your pocket. Another thing we did here that was unique and also has to do with optimal material selection was when the architect and the artist who's in Spain were building this, they wanted the aesthetic to have clear caulk between the glass bricks. Each brick is custom made and costs about $1,000, by the way. And we identified that the clear caulk does not have the additives and the components to it to give it durability. So after the first year, it started to leak everywhere because the caulk material was not optimal. So we got together with the artist and we did a mock-up, and we had this mock-up commissioned to test the different colors of caulk that were more durable caulks that were tinted and had these additives that would give us a very long-term durability. And we did a mock-up, and we put the mock-up in the system while it was operational. And that's what this video is. So again, it goes back to optimal material selection based on whatever variables the client gives us. And you might be thinking, what does this have to do with BP or heavy duty industrial processes? It's directly in alignment, as you'll see from this video. So this is a digester tank, and it is exactly in alignment. Our process for determining what's optimal is no different than anything else we do, whether it's a circuit board or a sulfuric acid tank or a piece of artwork. In this case, we were hired to identify an optimal solution for this tank, which could only be taken out of service once every 25 years. And the only way to get the access to it is they had to cut the top of the tank completely off. And that's what this is. They took a robot, they cut the top of the tank off, they set it on the ground, and that's a person on the top of the tank to give you an idea of the size. Right in alignment with Einstein's quote of, you should make things as simple as possible, but no simpler is this one: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we had anticipated, having worked on this for around 9 months, we had contractors in place and coating systems in place that we determined were optimal. But when we went inside the tank, this is what we found. The coating, even though it had been in service for about 25 years in this very, very corrosive environment, the coating was pristine. It was perfect. So we told the owner, we got to stop everything and we have to evaluate the coating system because there may not be anything wrong with it. And that's what we did. The coating, you can see, still had gloss on it. Those 3 tabs, we did pull tests on the coating, and we determined that this old coating system was going to perform better than any new coating system that could be installed for technical reasons that we can talk about later. So in this case, the solution was to do nothing. And as you can imagine, there were a lot of vendors and contractors who were not happy about that because the coating process of this was over $1 million. And we came in and we said, just do slight little touch-ups and leave the bulk of it alone. And failures, while they're obvious, they're not the biggest problem. And this is another video. This is a trench that had been built brand new and had been lined about 9 months earlier. And there were so many different modes of failure within this that we were initially contacted to identify what the mode of failure was. And I suggested to the client, it doesn't matter, hire me to fix it, which is what they did. So they saved a bunch of money by not quantifying the mode of failure because it didn't matter. Let's focus our efforts and our resources on fixing it. And this is just an interesting video of how different failures can manifest themselves. And that's what I want to do to the other ones. So these blisters were everywhere and they were gathering water, not from the inside, but from the exterior. Again, for complicated reasons I'm happy to discuss, but don't want to go over right now. And so we worked with them to identify a system that would, and a methodology that would pair this rather than spending any money figuring out technically what happened. And again, this all is in alignment with whatever it is that we're working on. And here's the big takeaway. If you take away anything from this talk, it's an issue with procurement. And the single most costly and preventable risk to owners is diminished performance. We all hear about failures, and we all hear about these catastrophic issues like that blister where water is spurting out. But the biggest issue, and it's sort of invisible, is owners don't realize that how long properly designed systems will last without any maintenance. And so when you look at the Coliseum, or you look at that 2,000-year-old concrete, or you look at, this is the underside of that digester tank. When you design things optimally, the longevity can sort of almost be unimaginable. There was a project that was built in Dubai in the middle of the desert. It's a Ferrari amusement park, and the roof of it is several times larger than a football field. And they found a coating system that would maintain, the roof was painted the Ferrari red, and they found a coating system that would maintain the Ferrari red for at least 10 years within 10% of the original system, including gloss and color shift, which is a technological, it's almost miraculous. And the issue with procurement is that when owners go out to look for solutions, they go to companies that are incentivized to provide suitable solutions, but not optimal solutions. A coating company or a contractor or anybody else, they want a solution that's going to last a certain amount of time. They're not incentivized to get a solution that's going to last for 20 years or 40 years, because that's not how they feed their families, right? They often design things that last 2 years or 4 years or 5 years. And some of our challenges when we show up on a job is, hey, do you want something to last 4 years, or do you want something to last 40 years? And those are the kind of things that you really need to think about in terms of procurement and managing any asset. Is what is the incentive of the owner, and are they giving you the vendor, are they providing you with a suitable solution or an optimal solution? This is another project that we did for another company, and we were helping them evaluate. They had some material issues. We were trying different methodologies and different materials to try to find what was optimal for remediation of a problem that we're having. And that's me in the lower left-hand corner. And this is a passive fireproofing system. This is a coal stacker. That's me on the right, talking with a great guy who retired recently. That's a coal stacker. It's one of the largest pieces of equipment ever made by humans. They can be seen from space. This is a small one. They had started down the road of lead abatement and painting it with a 3-coat system. We got involved. We said, stop everything. We did a whole bunch of tests on the coal stacker. We left the lead in place. We put tarps down to make sure the lead would not be removed. We water blasted it, and we found a unique material out of Canada called high ratio copolymerized calcium sulfonate that actually went on the lead primer, because the lead primer was pristine and perfect and it was doing its job. They sprayed it on in 1 coat, saved them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in the initial install. And the system we designed is designed to last for decades without any maintenance at all. And the system that we installed there could be touched up anytime. Just go out there with a paintbrush and add some more of the material on there. This is another example at a facility where a truck had backed in and damaged. This is concrete as passive fireproofing at a large industrial facility. And these vendors came out, and these contractors came out and said, oh my goodness, you need to replace all of this. Look at all the rust. When the truth is, there was nothing wrong with that rust. Whenever you put steel into concrete, it passivates it because the concrete is high in alkalinity. That's fine. That kind of rust is healthy rust, and there's no reason to replace it at all, other than to put the passive fireproofing back into place. Tallest building in the world, that's the Burj. We designed and specified the coating system for all of the concrete water tanks. They wanted something to last forever. We gave them something that there's no mechanism that anybody can think of that's going to cause any deterioration. The system we designed should last for many decades without any maintenance at all. I'm going to close. I know we only got a few more minutes. This is a secondary containment area that was being rehabilitated. We were called in to advise on it, and our scope was to fix the coating system that was on the walls And for some reason, the client wanted to manage the floor on their own. And so they repitched the floor of the secondary containment area. And I said, as a courtesy, I looked over what they were using to repitch it, the material that they were using. And they said, oh, it's fine, it's an acid resistant material. They relied on the contractor to specify the material. And as a courtesy, I looked over the material and I said, this specifically says that it's not compatible with the liquid in the tank that is being stored at high concentrations. And they explained, you can see the tank in the upper corner here, and hydrochloric acid, very dilute amount, would drip out all the time. But I explained to them, when this drips out and if it's not cleaned, the concentration of hydrochloric acid is going to skyrocket due to evaporation. If you get 1% of hydrochloric acid, it evaporates, it gets wet, now you have 2%, you get this cyclical wet and drying. Pretty soon you're going to have pure hydrochloric acid. They did it on their own. I went back out to the site 3 weeks later, and this was the condition of the brand new concrete that they had installed. And I explained to them that this is going to be a massive and catastrophic failure, because eventually the hydrochloric acid is going to eat through that acid-resistant material, damage the concrete underneath, and it'll just continue to eat its way, potentially all the way through the base concrete. And this really sort of illustrates what we're talking about in terms of optimal and non-optimal. On the right side, that's a black caulk joint there on the right side, and that was our responsibility. The bottom of the secondary containment area is on the left side, and the caulk joint was our responsibility also. And on the left side, it was just a non-optimal system. It was marginally suitable, and that goes back to the issues associated with procurement and understanding materials and how these materials perform. That brings me to the close. I know I'm a few minutes early, but I wanted to get through a lot of material, and I wanted to close with this. It's really on the most important thing, I think, to understanding in maintaining assets, whatever they are, whether there are corrosion issues or material design, is in the procurement process. We really need to understand who we're contacting and who we're using as references. And we've even found engineering firms and architectural firms very well intended. One of my first big consulting projects, which was with an aquarium in the Midwest, and they had contracted with an international architectural firm for designing a coating system for these small exhibits that were in walls that people would walk and they would see the exhibits. And the architectural firm just designed these wrong systems, and we became involved. And it was a very awkward conversation because the material design was not in the best interest of the client. The architectural firm just didn't understand the parameters. They didn't understand the material sufficiently well to advise the client what was optimal. And so that completes my talk. I know we're a little bit early, but I hope there might be some questions, or I'm happy to elaborate on anything I've gone over, or we can go back and look at some more slides. I'll turn it back over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Warren. I appreciate it. If anyone has any questions that they would like presented, please enter them in the chat feature of the GoToWebinar platform, and we can get those ask Warren and Dan. Just to get started here, how do contractors or suppliers work with you?
I would say reluctantly. I would say the people who really enjoy working with us most are the owners. A lot of other vendors view us as competition because we can't be beholden to any specific technology. And so what typically happens, we're working on a very large project for Chicago Public Schools right now. They're the owner, and they hire us, and then we sort of help them navigate what's optimal based on what they're trying to accomplish. There are a lot of vendors, like the Daniel Popper job that was recommended by a vendor out in Las Vegas who knew the kind of work we did and knows that we're very good at solving problems, whatever it is they are. So most of the people that hire us almost all the time are owners, but good vendors and good contractors also bring us in if they run into a headache to help them problem solve so they can find an optimal solution for the owner and for the project.
Going into that, are there any particular industries that you specialize in or work with most?
I would say it's really more of a material specialty, whether we're working on a tank for Cargill or Kraft Foods. We did silos for Nabisco. We've done lighthouses. So we're really competent to consult on any industry. I would say most of our work is within heavy duty petrochemical because they're a very sophisticated bunch of people and they understand the challenges. But we've consulted on circuit boards. We did a 6-story tall steel sculpture in downtown Chicago. It's really relevant everywhere. Even the can of Coke that you're drinking has a specialized liner on the interior. So it's really ubiquitous. In fact, I'm in touch with NASA right now. They're very sophisticated, as you might imagine, in terms of managing corrosion, about talking to them about some issues that they've been struggling with. So it's not industry specific, it's more materials and asset specific.
We had a question come through from Bill. He asked, do you see your product being used in any pipeline work?
Yes, we're working on a 12-mile pipeline right now in the California area, and that happens to be concrete. But we do quite a bit of work on corrosion under insulation, which is a huge problem, predominantly in the petrochemical industry, where you have pipes that are very, very hot and pipes that are very, very cold, or go through circular thermodynamic cycles. And the corrosion rate on those can be catastrophic. And so we also work on those. We did a project that involved an offshore oil platform. I can't discuss, we're under non-disclosure for that, but the answer is yes, we do a lot of work on pipelines. And again, material is material, steel is steel, stainless steel is stainless steel. It sort of doesn't matter where it resides. We are qualified to consult on it.
And just to clarify, Stephanie, for Bill asked if our product would be used in pipelines. We don't have a product. We don't sell or represent or promote any products. You know, what we would do in the case of a pipeline, is same in the case of any of the examples that Warren talked about, is we go to the marketplace. We're in touch with all the vendors and manufacturers and technologies across the world. We would find the right product, and that's what we would recommend to you. But we would not. We don't have a product.
Right. Thanks for that clarification. That's correct.
Last question, and then we'll close out here. I know that you have spoke about the coatings solutions that you offer. As far as your consulting work, are there other types of solutions, other design issues that you consult on?
Sure. Coatings is just one tool in our toolbox. We have an infinitely deep toolbox. That's different than a paint company. If you call a paint company, their solution is going to be painting. Ours, one of our biggest ones, is don't do anything. And then there's cathodic protection issues. There's a technology called volatile corrosion inhibitors, which is actually a material that's a powder, but it off-gases and provides protection to steel. There's getting into the technical realm. There are hundreds of solutions that we bring to the table that, unless you happen to talk to that vendor that's providing that solution, you're never going to hear about.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. We've learned a lot, and we appreciate you taking the time and enlightening us all today. Just to close out, a few more things. If you don't already on NWIBRT, follow us on our social media channels. We're on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube channel where this video will be posted afterward. And we have our safety awards coming up August 19th. If there is someone from your company that you would like to nominate or recognize for their excellent work in safety and craftsmanship, we still are taking open applications for Outstanding Craftsperson Safety Leader Awards. Like I mentioned, our Safety Awards banquet, the date was changed. It is August 19th at Avalon Manor. Tickets and sponsorships are now available online at NWIBRT.org. We also have our charity golf outing coming up. The NWIBRT Hard Hat Charity Golf Outing will be September 17th at White Hawk Country Club. We are almost sold out for this event, so if you want to play, get with us and let us know right away. We do have sponsorship opportunities available online as well. And that's all. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate it, and everyone have a great day. Stay safe.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.